Hello, welcome to the Jericho Comedy Podcast. Give me a J, give me an E. Oh God, we're not going to do that actually. I'm Conor McReynolds, and this week on the Jericho Comedy Podcast, I'm joined by the fantastic Katie Pritchard. Katie is a whirlwind of comedic energy. She's musical, she wears amazing costumes, she's really got it all. Last year she won UK Musical Comedian of the Year, and she's always been one of our favourite acts at Jericho. I'll be chatting to her all about her comedy, her singing, her acting, her writing, her online shows. I really wasn't lying when I said she has it all. You'll also be hearing a clip from our wonderful charity partner Oxfordshire Mind, and later you'll be hearing a clip of Katie performing live at Jericho Comedy. But right now, here is the brilliant Katie Pritchard. Katie Pritchard, hello, and thank you so much for joining me on the Jericho Comedy Podcast.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you, Connor?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. We've had this chat arranged for a while, and we both have something in common, which is bastards for internet connections, it would seem. Have you had your internet connection woes resolved?
Yes, it just lasted that one day.
I'm envious.
I had to, hopefully. I mean, I'm saying hopefully because I've got one of these 5G hubs. Don't tell anyone.
I think we just found ground zero for coronavirus, folks.
I think it's right here, even though I got it 4 months into lockdown. But I'm pretty sure that is what caused it.
Inevitable.
But now, because our wired internet. This is a backstory. Normal internet in my area, we're like maximum speed is like 11.4 megabytes per second or 0.6 upload speed, which is trash. So we got this hub, and it's normally amazing. It just didn't work that one day. Obviously, the day that I had loads of meetings, we were supposed to do our this, and I had a stream. I had to do my stream pixelated. The next day I checked my speeds. Over 640 megabytes per second. This is what I like cruising now.
Oh, there's got to be a middle ground.
Got
surely.
Wi-Fi to burn here.
That is flash. I believe the young people call that extra.
Yeah,
I've never sounded so old as when I just said that sentence.
I feel like this has been very much an insight into my lockdown and things that I've got excited about.
Well, I really want to ask you things about your lockdown because you have not wasted any time. You have found some really brilliant formats for online. You do really cool things like writing songs with a live audience on a live stream, writing comics with an audience. How have you found kind of the new world of comedy and all these really cool things you've been doing?
It's been very interesting, and I really like learning new things, and this was a very steep learning curve.
Yeah.
So obviously I started out with incredibly rubbish internet connection, and I was really struggling to upload anything, and I was working with a group of comedians called The Lost Comics, which unfortunately doesn't exist anymore, but we were trying to produce online content in the form of short sketches, and we had like a little show every week. And then I just kind of started being like, okay, I think I saw Scott Bennett doing his stand-up from the shed. And it was amazing he literally, because he was supposed to be on tour, and he literally just went, I'm going to do it in my shed. And it was so fun that I thought, I'm going to give it a go and see what I can do with my style of comedy in an online stream. So that's kind of where I started. So I started to do this show called Get Rich or Die Trying, where I'd take challenges. I'd literally do any challenge that was put at me in my lounge.
Brilliant.
And it was really, really fun show. But it was very difficult to write that much material every week. And some of the challenges would be quite quite big challenges. And that's definitely a show I want to revisit. But kind of my favourite thing that came out of that was that I wrote a musical in 1 week based on the movie The Breakfast Club.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, so I did it was a half-hour musical version of the movie, and I'm now currently working on progressing it myself. Hopefully, maybe one day I'll do it live, maybe if that is
Oh,
allowed.
that would be
um,
brilliant.
but yeah, so after doing that, I thought, do you know what? I love songwriting because obviously I do a musical comedy, and I realised that a lot of people don't necessarily realise how many instruments I can play and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I just thought it would be a fun thing, take challenges from people. So that's how the Let's Build a Funny Song from Scratch stream started. Just more because I like songwriting and I just love being challenged. So what is easier about that show is that the challenges are all musical.
Oh,
So
okay.
it takes sometimes a while for me to be like, I mean, this week's one I haven't made the video for yet. Basically, we write it in an hour on the show, and then I spend the rest of the week trying to record it to make a video.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and they've challenged me to play a Nile Rodgers style guitar line.
Oh my God.
And that anyone that doesn't know, he's the guitarist. He's behind so many big songs. He worked with Chic a lot, you know, that kind of
Oh, yes.
disco.
Yeah, yeah.
Le freak, say Chic. He worked with Daft Punk. You know, his his
That,
guitar skills is out of this world.
yeah.
So that's why I'm procrastinating this week. But it's very fun to get all
I'm
these
trying to
challenges.
imagine what the kind of comedic equivalent of that is. Like someone saying, write a set in the style of Billy Connolly. It's just like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Like, how do you go about trying that?
I mean, yeah, this is half the fun of the show.
Yeah.
In that, I mean, we're the audience that are watching in the chat. Everyone that's joining in it becomes a co-lyricist and a musical supervisor on that show, so they can literally recommend any lyrics or anything musical, and we pop it in. Like we did once. 1 week they wanted it country style, like Dolly Parton, and then
Yeah.
they said, we also want to put in an enthusiastic harmonica solo. So we popped that in as well. So it's just really dumb. And obviously, like, it's really fun to be creative with other people. And
Yeah.
there's no jeopardy in writing a song in 1 hour that's just for fun. So
That's
it's like,
really cool.
yeah, and I feel like, you know, I get regular people that join in and watch it, and it just feels like that community's starting to grow, and like it's just a bit of fun. Do you know what I
That's
mean?
so lovely. I mean, I guess beyond lockdown, I mean, selfishly, I guess a lot of comedians were just thinking, God, I can't wait to like get offline and get back in front of people and like around our friends and socialize at gigs and stuff. But what do you think is the kind of future for these formats? They could remain online. They sound like they would work so well kind of live. Like you've done
Yeah,
family style shows as well. Like for kids, these sound like they'd be brilliant formats too if you adapted them.
yeah. So it's really funny because this week I've been thinking a lot, and I think a couple of my shows I definitely want to continue even when lockdown's finished.
Hmm.
Because it is nice to be at home working
Yeah, yeah,
and just
definitely.
roll from my bed to my chair and do some do some work. So definitely like the building a funny song from scratch. I definitely want to maintain that as an online show. I can't do next week's one, or I don't know when this is coming out, but the next one that's coming up in my calendar, I can't do because I have a live gig, and it was so hard to be like, oh, okay. It was so because I love doing the show so much, but obviously I
Yeah.
love performing live. So
Yeah,
now
of
I'm
course.
absolutely torn. But that's why I put the show on a Monday because I figured it would be like a low, you know, there wouldn't be that many gigs that happen on a Monday.
Yeah.
So hopefully it can stay as it is. But the people that watch it have told me that they'd love to see it live. So
It sounds like it would
and
be such a blast live.
yeah, I think it's fun from the point of view that the audience can challenge anything, and I will give it my all, whether or not I can actually do it. I'm not a master on any of these instruments. I just love playing music, so just do what I
Yeah.
can.
Oh, it sounds so fun. I mean, to kind of speak more generally about your comedy, you've mentioned music obviously is such a huge part, but I kind of feel like to say that you do musical comedy like isn't quite accurate enough a description because it's also got such a great visual element too. How do you describe what you do?
A nightmare. Yeah, I don't really know. I guess I can fall into several categories and as an amalgamation of all of them.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just from my background, really. I've done a lot of acting.
Mhm.
I love being characters and having costumes. I absolutely love that. Obviously, I'm a musician, so music comes into it.
Mhm.
I guess, as one audience member told me the other day, I'm very weird. So it's so at least I've not hidden that element of me. So yeah, my stuff is quite it's very silly. And so yeah, I just kind of fuse them all. I obviously I absolutely love comedy, and I love all the different styles of comedy. So kind of what's happened is I've kind of become like a little Velcro and got all of the different styles
Yeah.
mishmashed in.
It's so great. I mean, your energy is so brilliantly manic, and like I've spoken to some comedians who sort of say that like sometimes they find it difficult to kind of impose their personality on an audience in a sort of shorter like 10-15 minute set, and
Mm.
that they want the luxury of kind of gradually yeah, kind of showing the audience who they are and what they're about over the course of their hour-long show. But I think when you come on stage, it's so immediately clear to an audience kind of who you are and what you're about. Like, how much of a challenge was it to refine that persona and kind of get that absolute clarity of what it is you do?
I guess that's the thing that took the longest, probably, and when I was learning about how I enjoy it being on stage.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, that definitely came kind of like later on, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
It
it
took.
would be a miracle if it happened
So
immediately.
imagine this is now my persona. I got it. I'll do this. Do you know what? It came mostly because I used to play the ukulele for my set and sing along with that, and I just felt quite rigid because of being, I've worked in musical theatre, so I can dance. Um, I love doing physical comedy, and it felt like I was quite rigid behind the ukulele.
Mm.
And actually ditching that and going more. So I now perform mostly to tracks, but it means that I'm completely free on stage to do what I want physically.
Yeah, yeah.
And that kind of decision to do that meant that I started to mess around, play around. I always knew that it was quite shocking and funny to people when it turned out I could dance quite well. Um, so
Oh,
I guess so I guess it was kind of an element of that. Like I'd start doing a song and then I'd start dancing along with the song, and I think people just wouldn't expect that to be able to happen. And then I was like,
yeah.
oh, okay, this is fun. And and doing a few gigs where, because my stuff is so silly, where
Yes.
if I'd done a gig where I wasn't fully committed to the bit that I was doing, then I
Yeah.
wouldn't have the audience on side. And it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just learning, the more conviction and confidence I have that I'm enjoying what I'm doing, the more it brings people on side with you.
Yeah, 100%. And you really do. Every time I've seen you at Jericho Comedy, you do that so immediately in a way that, as a comedy fan, I just admire it so much. And as a comedian, I'm so damn jealous of it. I mean, it seems like, and something again, I get very jealous of when I speak to comedians who I think have achieved this, like you. What you do seems to be such a kind of genuine reflection of your interests and personality. You seem really comfortable and happy with what you're doing, and it's what you really want to be doing. And again, like from when you started to where you are now, did you have to go through stuff? You said you felt a bit rigid behind the ukulele, but I guess there's still an element of it being music and that being a big part of your personality. But did you ever have to go through something that you kind of thought, this just isn't me? Or have you been very good at kind of finding stuff that is always kind of very you?
I guess the tricky thing has been people telling me their opinions on what I should
Okay.
be doing, but in a way that kind of made me go, no, I know. As you're saying that, I'm not interested in doing that. Um, so I guess like in that way, it is quite hard to be a musical comedian,
Mhm,
especially when I played the ukulele. I feel like before I started comedy, there must have been loads of people playing ukuleles doing comedy, and it
mhm.
became this thing that everyone was really down about.
Oh, right.
So
Yeah.
I used to get sassed quite a lot at gigs when I'd turn up with my uke, and they'd be like, "Oh no, not another one." Pardon me, I'm so
Oh.
sorry. Not another one. And I am so sorry about that. I, yeah, after you kind of develop this kind of, if you're putting yourself in a genre of comedy that people find it easy to make fun of,
Mhm.
you just kind of develop this idea where I think that probably led to the kind of onstage let's just let's just do it kind of style, because of having to put up with everyone that has all these negative negative views on the style of comedy you're about to do.
Mhm.
um, you've got to prove to them not only to that you can do it, but also that their negative opinion on it, you've got to be good enough that their negative opinion goes away
Yeah,
of that
yeah.
style of comedy. So you just kind of have to show like no weakness.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
so that kind of meant, I guess, that every time someone would tell me I should ditch the ukulele, or I should do more storytelling, or I should do more this or more that. I willingly give everything a go and try it all out, but I, I'd always be like, but I'm a musician. I absolutely love music. In my internal monologue is all in music. Um,
Oh, wow.
so I don't like, I understand the appeal of doing those different styles, but
Mhm.
the thing is, I just love music. So
Yeah.
I loved anything that is to do with music. Just absolutely love it. So to me, it's like an easy genre to be involved in, because
Yeah.
that's how I think. But saying that, I did try my first. I did a 25-minute set last week, all stand up, only one song.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's a
because
huge departure.
because I'm trying to be safe, in these lockdown times.
Of
Singing apparently is
course.
very dangerous. Um,
Oh. Oh, yeah, of
so
course.
yeah, I thought it would be a good idea to have a set where, if I'm in the smaller venues and they are not ready, not safe for singing. I mean, I was
Yeah.
wearing my visor, using my own mic and everything, standing as far away from the audience as possible. So it was, according to the guidelines, I was doing it completely safely if I was to be singing. But I know that
Yeah.
because I dance around a lot, it is hard for me to know that I've maintained that distance. So yeah, I did a
Sure.
whole 25-minute set just stand up, and it was
Wow.
very enjoyable.
That's, I mean, also a 25-minute set of just stand up, like, that's a long set. If you'd said I did 5 minutes of stand up with no music and that was different and fun, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. 25 minutes is a lengthy set to try something out.
Yeah. Yes, I was very lucky that the venue and the promoter and the gig they were well up for me trying that. We had a lot of discussions about. Sorry, here you go on the sirens.
We
I told
chatted,
you.
listener, just before we started recording. Katie promised thered be a dramatic background noise,
It
and
is
she
so
has
epic.
delivered.
There we go. That's. I'm surprised it's taken that long for the first siren. Um, uh, they're just passing through, by the way. Anyone listening concerned that I'm
Yes, the
just.
next thing we hear is the banging on the door.
Oi, get out! Um, yeah, so I was so lucky. The promoter and the venue were really happy for me to um, have a little experiment, essentially.
Yeah.
And it was a gig that I've done before, so a lot of the audience had seen me before. So I didn't want to do no music because I knew, like, obviously I normally do almost all music.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and they all seemed really happy, and it was very interesting to me to do that and
That's
see
really cool.
how it
Yeah.
felt.
I was chatting to Huge Davis on the podcast a few weeks ago, who
Yeah.
obviously, like you, musical comedian. And he was saying that the best or the kind of most significant gig for him that he ever did was the one time, literally the only time he's ever performed comedy without his keyboard.
Mm,
And he did Set List, that improvised stand up show
yes.
where the thing appears on the screen and he improvised a stand up set. And he said he loved it and like it was a totally different thing to what he usually does. And yeah, it sounds really interesting that to try something that's very, very different. It's definitely something I think I could learn from. I should get out of my comfort zone of doing what I usually do and try something different.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing is that if you are a comedian, you're obviously your natural comedy instincts they're not going to disappear if you're doing a different air quotes genre of comedy. It's
Yeah.
all comedy, right? So it's just a case of transferring those skills where you would, for me, where I'd normally have music.
Hmm.
I feel like I write quite uh, not. I don't write. I'm not very good at talking on my own. But when I write comedy, I don't have much fluff in there because when you're writing to music, you've got a specific amount of syllables that you can use. So actually, you have to be able to write short, succinct jokes in order to fit
Yeah.
into the music. You can't have fluffy jokes, which means that when you do think about, oh, I'm going to write this set, you've already got the skill base of being able to write jokes
Yeah.
succinctly because that's
100%.
what you do in the from me. That's what you do in the music, and same if it was like a storytelling comedian wanted to do musical comedy, you already understand the process of writing a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And
Hmm.
then all you do is you put that into music, and you might have to mess around with a couple of syllables here and there,
Yeah.
but you would know how your comedy's going to work in that format. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So
really
it's that.
love what you said there. Like, I mean, it's so clear how comfortable you are with music because when you said, and then you just have to put that to music. To me, my eyes were screaming here. It's like, but how does that happen?
It's so easy. I feel like everything is musical. Everything has a music, a rhythm, and a beat to it.
Oh, I
Even
love
if you
that.
don't perceive it, if you think that your set isn't musical, you will know that if you did a joke in a specific way with a specific rhythm to how you're talking, you'll get a better reaction than if you did it without that.
Hmm.
That's still music, that's rhythm.
Ah, that is
So
very cool to hear.
yeah, so there's loads of things that all the styles of comedy can learn from each other. There you go.
Yeah, definitely. I love talking to kind of to all creative people. I'm so interested, and one thing that I ask across kind of both the podcasts that I do with Jericho Comedy, um, I love to ask creative people about their skill set and what they're drawn to, but also maybe creative challenges or kind of aspirations that they have. You've obviously done so much when it comes to like singing, songwriting, acting, comedy, art. You've got I mean, such an exciting and just extremely enviable skill set. But are there any creative endeavors that you've been thinking to yourself, I would love to give that a go, that are kind of on your creative wish list?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to be a good writer, like of scripts.
Oh yeah, great.
um, so that is, I guess, something that I'm working on at the moment, and I feel like it's so interesting because, like I said, if you do comedy and you understand comedy, you obviously can transfer that to that comedy to anything that you whatever style you're writing in, right?
Hmm.
Because you understand, setups and punchlines and pace and timing and all this is all integral to anything that's to do with comedy
Yeah.
or drama. Very transferable to drama as well. And
Yes. Yeah.
and so it's so interesting though to then have to then add in multiple people speaking when you're so
Oh
used to just
yeah, of
writing for
course.
yourself. And what I found is very naughty, but I think it's quite. I'm pretending it's quite current to make myself feel better. Not current, but I mean common. That's the word I mean.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
literally terrible at speaking. This is why the music is really good because it keeps my brain focused. But I feel like it's quite common, if you're writing and you're normally used to just writing for yourself, what
Yeah.
happens is in your scripts, the character that you want to cast yourself in, because inevitably as a performer, you're probably writing a script for yourself. That character is the most well-rounded character that has ever existed in any script
Yeah.
whatsoever. But every single other person around you is like, oh, who like this guy can come in and say two lines, and I've got no idea what he does. Why is he there?
I
Um,
find if it's not too kind of insensitive a word to use, but you sort of become like a little bit schizophrenic when I'm writing a script anyway, because you do have to like imagine who these people are, and they have such different ways of interacting with each other and different personality types, and like, so when I'm writing a script, I kind of sit there, and to an extent you sort of have to, oh, it sounds so wanky, but you kind of have to become that person a little
yeah,
bit.
well, yeah, because that's why your character that you're writing yourself is so well written, right? Because you understand everything about that character,
Hmm.
because you are thinking, I'm going to play. I think I would like to play this character in my script. So then you've got to do it for all the other characters. Otherwise, they're not going to be as well written,
Yeah,
and
it
it's
would just
just
be
going
an
to be,
imbalanced script.
yeah. It's like I May Destroy You. That is an
I haven't
incredible piece
treated
of
myself to that
writing.
yet because it sounded like a very hard hitting title, and I felt
Yeah.
very fragile over lockdown and wasn't sure I could cope with a show with that kind of name.
I put it off for like 2 weeks,
Okay.
and then I binged it all in 2 days,
Oh my
and it
god.
is it's an incredible TV. I mean, it's
Yeah.
dealing with a lot of hard hitting subjects,
Uh-huh.
but from a like technical point of view, every character seems necessary to the story
Hmm.
and important. And
Yeah.
the same with Jiri Haji as well, which I binged the week before.
Oh, wow, I don't know this
um,
one.
so this one's great, and it's like set in England and in Japan. So it's got
Okay.
a Japan cast and a UK cast, and the people are working together, and it's a um, crime based TV show, and it's
Oh, that
absolutely
sounds fun.
incredible. And in the last episode, it's one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen. But again, all of those characters are so important and so well rounded that you know that in any situation you understand what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And obviously, I've given you two dramas as examples,
But no, it's great. As you
but I
say, the
watched
skills
that.
are so transferable.
Yeah, I watched them and I was like, oh boy, this is what they mean when they say. No, we
Yeah.
don't understand. We know. your characters are, the script's good, you know, it's funny, it's pacey, but these characters, we don't know what would happen in all these different situations, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the rules they tell you, to know what your character would do in specific situations, so that
Yeah.
you're writing a
Yeah,
truthful
certainly.
character.
Yeah, there's
So yeah.
the best kind of piece of writing advice that I kind of ever heard from anyone is what you're currently writing in 50 words, write in 20 words, then write it in
Hmm.
10 words, and like just cut out all the fluff. And it all has to be, as you're kind of saying with characters and stuff, it all has to be essential. Everything should be moving the
Yeah.
story forward and the character forward and that kind of thing. And I'm such a fluffy writer. Like I put far too much into things, and I'm not as good an editor as I should be for someone who is literally an editor for my job as well. I should be a better editor of my own writing, and I'm really not.
But this is good though, because you start off, you've got so much to start with, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'm never
It's,
short of anything. I never
so
find my scripts being like, I probably need another scene here. It's like, shit, how do
once,
we delete 50 pages?
yeah, once you've edited it down, it's going to be so rich.
Oh,
It's going to be
hopefully.
so much happening. You got so
Oh,
much.
I need you round when I'm editing, Katie. That was very reassuring. I
I
needed to
believe
hear
in
that.
you, man.
Katie, I've got to ask you about what your first experience with Jericho Comedy was, because for as long as I've been going along to Jericho Comedy now, I've been hearing about you, and I've been lucky enough to see you and gig with you a few times at Jericho. When did you kind of first come along and perform with us? Do you remember?
That is a great question. I don't. Do you know
I
what? I
mean, don't
don't
worry about
really
an
the
exact
exact
date or
date.
anything. Yeah.
Without my diary, I feel like it's probably about maybe 3 years ago.
Hmm.
I'm not. I feel like the way it came about is me and Alex had a gig together in St Albans, maybe, with
Okay.
and Chelsea as well.
Oh, super.
Um, and then he mentioned that he ran Jericho Comedy, and I'd heard so much about Jericho Comedy being a fun
Hmm.
one. And I think it's just I think for acts at Jericho, I mean the audience is always lovely, but also it's the fun and excitement of going between two venues in one night.
Yeah.
It feels
Alex
very,
Farrow loves a double.
it feels very Edinburgh, and that's what makes us feel alive sometimes. So
Yeah.
oh,
Uh,
off we go to the next venue. Um,
It's
so yeah.
something Alex absolutely loves. Like we've even managed it in the summer when kind of there have been
Mm,
almost no other gigs at some of our drive-ins. We've been running two stages. So
yes.
you get to one stage and it's like, right, you have to be over there in 20 minutes. Go.
Yeah, that's
Um,
what I did the other week, and it felt very epic. And I felt like I had a lot of gravitas performing on a hay bale in the
yeah.
wind and rain to cars. It felt
It's like
it
King
felt like,
Lear or something.
yeah, I was like, Royal Shakespeare Company, back off, yeah. This is this is now, yeah. I actually felt like Sir Ian McKellen at one point. I was like, I feel incredibly like, obviously it was very dangerous for me in the costumes, in the rain,
Yeah, of course.
but
Yeah.
that just added to the feeling of being alive. It was really nice. A lot of jeopardy on that stage,
Yeah.
and you don't get that often. And
No. Although
I
speaking of that,
twice, two
yeah,
gigs of that.
twice that night. I did Jericho. We've also run a couple of gigs on punts over the summer. We had one
Oh
this week,
yes.
and I sort of thought the audience are on water, but like surely the performers like will be on kind of steadier
Mm,
ground. But when you stepped onto the stage, it was just like a wooden platform
mhm.
balanced across four punts. And so when
So,
I stepped down, the whole stage like started sinking, and I was, oh Christ, like it was so full on. But yeah, talk about like making you feel alive on stage.
so I did get asked to do that one,
Oh
and
yeah,
unfortunately I was busy, and then after realising what the gig was, I was like, I'd have capsized that stage.
With your your
With-
energy and dancing around and moving around so much.
I'd have said Roman once, and then I'd be in the river. It would have been. I mean, it would have been entertaining, I'm sure, for some, but it would have been even more death-defying than performing in the wind and rain on a hay
The
bale.
feeling of surviving the drive-ins and the punch shows.
Yeah,
you.
I kind of wanted to do it to tick it off, but how badass has your year been? Gigged in the wind and rain to cars, tick.
Yeah.
Capsized the stage. That would have been a great one. Maybe another. I did say to Alex, another week.
Yeah. Oh well. Hopefully. I mean, obviously, we're coming up to kind of autumn time now, so I'm not sure how
probably
much
not appropriate.
the weather's going to play with us. But next year, we really want to go back, and I think the venue seemed really happy with how the shows went. Audiences seem to love it. So next
Wicked.
year, when we're back on punts, Katie Pritchard will be there to headline. Awesome. Well, Katie, we got to go to a little message now from our lovely charity partner, Oxfordshire Mind. So have a listen to this, folks.
As a large percentage of the population are now working from home and adapting their working lives around recent rulings to stop the spread of COVID-19, we'll be sharing some suggestions to keep you mentally and physically well over the coming weeks. It's important to keep to a routine when working from home. Keep your alarm set. Sticking to a familiar routine helps. It's still a working day. Continue your commute. Even though you might not be heading out the house to go to work, you can still introduce a local walk before you start work into your routine. Or you can do some gentle chair exercises. More information can be found at our website. It's important to check in with colleagues throughout the day. Connecting with people is so important to maintain a good sense of well-being throughout the day. Make sure you take your lunch break. It's really important to have meaningful breaks throughout the day. When working from home, it's really important to mark the end of your working day. Develop a ritual to end your working day, making sure you put your computer away, tidy your working area, and most importantly, if you have a work phone, turn it off so that you can use your evening time to relax.
Okay, Katie, I really hate to do this to you because we're having such a lovely, fun, enjoyable chat, but I'm now contractually obliged to move into our next feature, Pressing Questions. I'm about to put you in the firing line of a series of tense, uncomfortable, almost impossibly difficult and unpleasant questions. And what I need from you is total, unflinching honesty. Can you do that for us?
I'm going to give it my 101%.
Thank you so much. All right, Katie, question 1.
Right.
How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
I think probably enough before their arms got tired. They wouldn't chuck any more after their arms were too tired. So
That is so true. That's a very wise and philosophical answer.
Thank you. Thank you. I am very philosophical, actually.
My dad used to ask me a question as a kid. It was, how long's a piece of string?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer he would give was twice its length.
Yes.
And I was like, oh.
That's very true as well.
And I still think about that. I mean, but you can see how out of my depth I am philosophically when I gig with Alex Farrow and he talks about like Plato and Descartes, and I'm like, yeah, twice its length. Yeah.
You don't have to know the big flashy names to understand philosophy.
Yes!
Yeah.
That's definitely what I'm clinging on to. But it certainly helps with audience trust when you can name a few of them.
Yeah.
All right, Katie, what's the most innovative charity fundraising idea you've ever heard?
This is a good one.
There's all like the baths of baked beans and that kind of thing, but anything else that you've ever heard of that you thought, my God, that's a fun idea?
I don't. I mean, I'm up for any idea that charities have. Off the top of my head, I keep thinking about that ice bucket challenge. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah, that was
I
fun.
feel like that was quite fun. Everyone could get involved. You'd get nominated. I think I got so many nominations, I ended up doing a video reel of just me dousing myself in iced water. I think I had to do like 7 of them, and it was just this video is like 2 minutes of me just constantly pouring this ice water over me. But that was quite fun. That spread, far and wide, I feel.
Yes, it did. That was a very good one.
So probably, along those lines, anything where people will get involved and they feel no pressure, but also, peer pressure to actually do it. And, otherwise, what's the point of it? If it's like a fun one that you're like, you look silly when you've got ice water on you. I mean, I can't remember any of the others off the top of my head, but it definitely feels like that was...
No, I think that if there was a correct answer to the question, I think that was it, actually.
That stuck with me, the pain of the ice water.
I'm glad that I didn't get nominated as many times as you. Once was quite enough for me.
I feel like I was a target. But I pretended it was because everyone thought it would be funny instead of anything mean.
Katie, what, in your opinion, is the perfect crime?
Oh, one that you get away with.
Yeah, again, that is bang on. Have you committed any crimes recently that you got away with?
Not that I am aware of. Probably fashion crimes, numerous. But I don't think I've committed any other crimes.
Oh, those sirens couldn't be better timed.
I know. Or have I?
Katie, are you any good at making paper planes?
I don't have a lot of spare paper to practice on, but I feel in the past, when paper has been plentiful around me at school and whatnot, I have proven myself to be quite the paper planes engineer.
I used to get so jealous of all the kids who seemed to be able to make stealth jets with the way they folded it. It was proper origami, whereas I did the classic sort of fold it like an envelope and 2 very long straight wings, like your grandfather would have made a paper plane.
Yeah,
that was my style.
I feel like my dad was very insistent that I learn how to do a paper airplane.
Oh yeah,
so I feel like I got good teaching in, and I used to go to school with a boy in my class was so into the RAF. He actually joined when we left school, but he taught me about the engineering ones.
Really?
Yeah, he'd have nice big tail bits on his and stuff like that, and I'd be like, let's learn how to do those.
I hope that was part of the test to get into the RAF. You have to build. Yeah. Well, if you're stuck in enemy territory and you've only got a piece of paper, how are you getting you and your crew out? Katie, this is a bit of a grim one, and I kind of wish I hadn't written it down, but here we are. How do you think you'll die?
Nicely and politely. It's your ideal, actually.
Hopefully don't inconvenience anyone.
Polite. And then everyone will be that was nice and polite, and then, that'll be it.
I'm picturing you going out with a great musical number.
Well, it's a funny story about that.
Oh, yeah.
I once fainted in an audition. It's only happened once, touch wood, but I fainted in time with the music. Such is my musical.
That is amazing.
I was singing a note. I waited until the end of the bar, fainted, got up. The panel were in different states of shock. Some laughing, some phoning medical people. And then I carried on the song from the point that I left off, because I left off at beat 4 of a bar, picked up from beat 1.
Oh, that is extraordinary. So they just were left thinking she is given literally everything she has to this audition. Please tell me you got the job.
I did not get the job, but
Those bastards.
very well remembered, I feel, every time I've been in since, based on the fact that they go, do you need a glass of water? And all I do every time I've been in since is my only rule to myself is just make sure you don't faint in this one, so you don't become fainting girl. And so far been all right, but I know every time I walk in they remember. So it's not a bad thing they remember me.
Yeah, that's a kind of audition hack.
But maybe not that specific one, because people are worried about putting someone that might faint in the show. So maybe pick something less catastrophic to your career. It's my advice.
That is superb. Katie, if Hollywood legend Tom Hanks appeared at your door asking if he could have a cup of tea, would you tweet about it?
I'd probably see if he wanted to tweet about it. Because I feel like it'd be nice coming from him, but
It
probably
would.
only like if it felt like we were having a nice time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Do you
want
think
to
it
be
would
like-
get weird with Tom Hanks and you?
Well, no, I feel like he wouldn't be worried about me stealing his work, so we'd probably just hang out, chat about, Wilson, see how Wilson's doing. I think I'd have a nice time with him. He seems like such a nice person.
Oh, I know.
I'm sure he would be into the idea of a tweet before pursuing a tweet.
That's very good of you. That's absolutely the correct attitude. I think you would win his everlasting respect for that.
Well, you wouldn't want to tweet it and then he'd be like, "Oh, I regret knocking on Katie's door for a cup of tea." Never gonna
Oh
do that.
my God, my heart just lurched when you sort of suggested the concept of Tom Hanks feeling disappointment.
No.
That really made me feel something that I don't want to feel again. I never want to disappoint Tom Hanks.
No one wants to disappoint Tom Hanks, so
No.
let's just not.
Deal. Let's never do it. Listener, this is a verbal contract and we're bringing you into it as well. If
Let's
any
just
of you ever disappoint Tom Hanks, you're never welcome back at Jericho Comedy.
Never.
Katie, have you ever been fired from a job?
No.
Oh, that's good.
Touch wood.
I mean, I guess selfishly, for comedic purposes, I was hoping that there would be one story, but you seem like a lovely person. Who would fire Katie Pritchard?
I guess a lot of the work I do is contract based. So when your contract ends, then it's their choice to renew it or not. But that's not technically being fired. That's just that your job is finished.
Yes.
Hopefully.
And there is a difference in those things. It may be subtle. The result may be the same. But yeah, firing is quite dramatic.
No, I never fired. I've only left work really for like career reasons. Jobs that aren't performing for career performing. And all my managers have been very chill about it. I've been incredibly lucky. One manager was even like, "Why are you worried about telling us that you need to give notice? You've just got a big show. Get out of here. Celebrate." It's like halfway through my shift. Celebrate.
So it sounds like you've had literally the opposite of being fired from a job, where you've had nothing but support and affirmation from your bosses upon leaving.
I mean, part of me wonders as if they just couldn't wait to see me go, but they didn't have any ground. No grounds to fire Katie. Literally, the second that she mentions she might have an acting job, so supportive. Be anywhere but here.
It's a big world. Explore.
It was so proud of you. Never call us again.
It's like that bit in Good Will Hunting where he says, like, "Every day I dream of coming to your front door and you don't come out." It's like, I know you're framing it, Ben, like you want better things for Matt Damon, but actually, That's not what best friends say to each other. That's not kind.
Nice.
Katie, why do you think TLC didn't want no scrubs?
Well, a scrub is a guy that can't get no love from me or them. So that's probably why, they knew it just wasn't going to work out. They have criteria by which they're trying to find a new partner.
Yeah.
And one of them is they don't want a scrub. And,
Yes.
people do it all the time on Tinder.
Oh, do you meet a lot of scrubs on Tinder?
No, but I mean, you'd have categories, right, by which if a person does this, I'm not interested. So that's just their version of that. But they
That's
were, in
true.
many ways, very innovative because that was way before internet dating.
That's true. They were applying filters before any of us were.
And they're just naturally doing, they're just saying, look, we're open to the idea of dating, but,
Yeah.
we draw the line here. And that's fine.
I respect their honesty and their clarity.
Yeah.
I feel it would only have been leading the scrubs on
If they didn't
hadn't
mention
made
it.
it clear.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, well,
They-
TLC, thank you for being considerate daters.
Yeah, they don't want anyone to waste their time. They've
That's
probably
true.
had to say a lot. I'm sorry, but I don't want no scrubs. So then they just wrote a song about it.
They also, they really have a respect for their own time because they also don't want people to go chasing waterfalls because apparently that's also a waste of time.
Well, and dangerous.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. That
'Cause
was
if
the
you
original
slip-
health and safety song.
Yeah, if you slip and fall on those rocks, then
Paperwork.
it's not going to end very nicely.
So much paperwork for TLC to fill in.
So it's a shame they're not here still giving us advice, actually.
They're due a comeback, aren't they?
Well, unfortunately, no Lisa left eye, right?
Oh,
It's just two of them now,
oh
unfortunately.
no. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Well, that was a very insensitive comment on my part because I forgot that.
Hey, it was a long, long time ago.
We've all made mistakes.
And
And
let's remember, the messages they did teach us through their music.
yes, I know since 1999, I haven't chased a single waterfall.
Yeah. As soon as that public service warning came out, I was like, Mum, Dad, we're not going to go chasing these waterfalls
Cancel the waterfall holiday.
to the lake instead.
Katie, my final question for you is arguably the most important yet. What's your favourite biscuit?
Ooh, I love Leibniz.
Oh, they are so good.
So good. And but I can eat a whole packet in one sitting, and I'm not sure if that is okay.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah?
I admire that so
Amazing.
much.
Okay, wicked.
Have you tried time out bars from the good people at Bahlsen who make Choco Leibniz?
I feel like I must have had one, but not on the regular.
They're quite wonderful. They're essentially like a Choco Leibniz, but a kind of double-sided biscuit with a slightly thicker layer of chocolate. And, it's a good dipper as well. If you're into a dip with your tea or coffee, can't recommend a time out highly enough.
Well,
I should probably stress at this point, the
fine.
Jericho Comedy podcast is sponsored by the good people at Bahlsen, by Bahlsen's Biscuits. There we go. Just had to get that out of the way.
Do you know what I did have the other day for nostalgia reasons? Those Pink Panther wafers. Remember
I
those?
love a pink wafer.
And so my most vivid memory of them is always at either church or local town hall coffee mornings.
Yes.
They'd always have a pink wafer, and you'd be like, there's a lot of people. Considering how many pink wafers, like the ratio of people to pink wafer was not in our favour.
Ill-considered, yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to wait for the elder people to choose first because you didn't want to be rude, but also you were like, don't choose the pink wafer, don't choose the pink wafer, don't choose the pink wafer.
You hope that the excitement of a pink wafer, like they've lived their whole lives, they've had their share of pink wafers. A considerate elderly person would think, these pink wafers, they're a young person's biscuit. Give me a malted milk, you know?
You'd hope.
Hopefully, yeah. But As we found out in recent years, maybe elderly people aren't always thinking of the interests of the young when they make their decisions. Who are we to say? Well, we've had such a great summer of outdoor shows, drive-ins, shows on water, but here we are approaching the end of September, and very soon the weather isn't going to play ball, so we're heading back inside. We're going to be at the Northwall Arts Centre in Oxford on the 26th of September, and we'll be hopefully announcing some more indoor shows in the very near future. But if you want to relive the good old times, here is the wonderful Katie Pritchard performing live at Jericho Comedy. Here she is.
Before I start, a lot of people saying to me, they would say, Katie, if you want to get ahead in this comedy business, you've got to do a little bit more observational comedy, because your comedy at the moment is just a little bit niche. I mean, okay, fine. So what I've done is I've gone out there and I've had a little look around to be a bit more observational, and this is what I've seen. Okay, you ready? No? You ready? Yeah! Anybody here ever been in the shower? Yeah? And then there's been a spider in it? Yes. Am I right? Yeah. Okay, good. Because I wrote a song about it. Here we go. Yeah. There's a spider in the shower looking at me, perving on me. There's a spider in the shower looking at me, perving on me. Oi, don't come near me, son, or you're really gonna get some. Stop looking at my wet and glistening hair and then crawling away like you don't care. There's a spider in the shower looking at me, perving on me. There's a spider in the shower. Oi, why are you looking at me? It moves. Why are you above me? Stop crawling towards me. I'm gonna get your cobweb wet. Stop trying to get a better view of me. Oh, quick change. Yeah, I'm a spider in the shower looking at you, perving on you. I'm a spider in the shower. What are you gonna do? You think it's so hot while you're getting clean, but really, you're just mean, giving me a green stick, turning away. I'll follow you all through the day. I'm a spider in the shower, looking at you, perving on you. I'm a spider in the shower, yeah, I'm looking at you. Have you ever seen a spider on your pillow while you've been asleep? Yeah? Just waiting for you to fall asleep and it's going to teabag you and you never know about it. You ever seen a spider on the wall? Just there waiting, just rubbing his groin against the wall, thinking about the shower. Alright, spider, get out of the shower. Now I'm going to see you. Now I'm going to get you wet. Now it's not my time to die. Too late. Should have been pervert on me. Deep pervert. Yeah? Every Tuesday.
All right, Katie, now we're going to play a game called Hard Opinions. We all have some hard opinions. And in this game, you're going to share with us some of your own hard opinions. Indeed, in some cases, you may not even know that you have a hard opinion. But out of respect for our dear listeners, we're going to manufacture some hard opinions. Does that sound okay?
Oh yeah, hard as nails. They're
Hard
my
as
opinions.
nails. No middle ground with that. Well, Katie, what's your hard opinion on jumping in puddles?
100%. Everyone should have to do it.
They should have to. I love that.
Law that you can't pass puddle without jumping in it.
That would be so fun. Imagine the debate in the Commons when they're making that law.
Yeah.
Inevitably, the Tories would be against it. It would ruin their moccasins or something.
It would, yeah, but it would bring us all together. So it would unite us, I feel like the MP would be like, it is imperative that we jump in puddles as a nation.
Oh, that should be Labour's slogan going into the next election. Jumping in puddles for you.
For me. Oh, it would be
Brilliant.
fun. Ow.
Katie, are you all right?
Yes, I got so into that idea, I hit my funny bone on my desk. So excited was I at the concept of jumping in a puddle.
Well, Katie, what is your hard opinion on Pixar's Cars?
I've never seen it, but I did get forced to, this is a true story, when I worked at Early Learning Centre, go around the shopping centre dressed as the red car from Cars.
Oh, yeah.
And give out information about Early Learning Centre. And I got told off for parking on a double yellow line, true story, by the parking attendant. And I felt like it was a bit bad for me. So if people were young enough to watch that film and then think that they could be a car, I don't think it was very good for them. So I'd say it's, we need to put maybe a higher age marker on that, so that people understand that if they're pretending to be a car, they shouldn't actually be on the road because they're still people.
That there are real world consequences to pretending to be a car.
Yeah, I very much learned the hard way. And
so I love this. We've come out the other side, and it seems like, forgive me if I'm wrong, but you're saying that Disney Pixar's Cars should be an 18.
I think, or
that's quite a hard opinion.
Yeah, at least have a warning, for younger audiences that yes, you can dress up as a car, but you need to stay on the pavement and not go on the roads. You're not roadworthy.
And also, it's a complicated and perilous puddle that we're jumping in here, because it might be quite cognitively challenging for a child to think, if I'm a car, I should be on the pavement. But when I start driving, I shouldn't be on the pavement.
Yeah. See?
God, I'm so glad I don't drive yet.
Yeah.
I don't think I could handle it. This has already thrown me into a bit of an existential funk. Katie, what is your hard opinion on the good old days?
Well, they were good, and they lived a long life, and there were many of them. So I'd say they were positive.
That's excellent. What's your hard opinion on the present?
It's nice to receive a gift. So I'd say good, positive, very positive.
And your hard opinion on the future?
Well, hopefully it will happen, and we'll be there to enjoy it. Hopefully, that's the best you can hope for. I'm feeling optimistic that the future will happen, and that we might be there to experience it.
I really like the positive nature of all these hard opinions. This is great. Katie, you're someone who knows a thing or two about this next thing. What's your hard opinion about fashion?
Well, yes, thank you for flagging up that I'm a very fashionable lady. I think fashion is important because it can... Here you go, fashion police.
Yeah, the fashion police.
It's important because it can keep you dry in the rain, warm in the winter, cool in the summer, springtime. And it can also tell people how you're feeling. If you're wearing a nice yellow t-shirt, maybe you're feeling a bit sunny. If you're wearing a mauve t-shirt, maybe it's more like a back off, don't come. So I think it's actually very useful, and people sometimes don't understand the semiotics behind the clothing that people wear, but it's very much a science thing. So
I am loving that I've just learned the word semiotics. This is wonderful. I think you might be officially the first person on the Jericho Comedy podcast to have used the word semiotics.
Have you looked it up? What does it mean? Have I got it right?
No, let's do this now, live. Semiotics meaning...
Study of sign process. There you go. I know it in relation to theatre.
Oh,
the science of signs.
I should have paid more attention during my performing arts degree. Maybe they did do a whole semester on semiotics.
Well,
but I just don't remember.
Mostly I remember semiotics learning about the colour red, and that if there was red lighting, it was either angry or passion.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of what I remember the most.
And so, if you're wearing red clothing...
Yeah, you're very
that's
passionate.
You're an angry, passionate person.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense. Donald Trump's always wearing a red tie.
He is.
Does make sense. And as we all know, unfortunately, he's a very passionate man.
Yeah, very passionate.
Deeply unfortunate. Katie, what is your hard opinion on balloons?
Oh boy. I feel like they're great for making you feel great and loved, and
Yes.
but I think they should only be. I think if you receive a balloon, the person that's given it you should take it away before it starts deflating.
Oh, yes.
You don't ever have to go through that sad process of watching this balloon that made you feel so loved slowly dying with every centimetre squared of air that leaves it. And I say that as someone who did have several deflated balloons stuck around their flat since New Year's Eve that we had to get rid of
Oh,
at
no.
the start of lockdown, because I was like, I can't go through lockdown losing all of this work and watch these balloons slowly deflate. We had to get rid.
Oh,
So, yeah.
that's a very good, relevant, and also very hard opinion. I love
Yeah.
it.
Very hard. Yeah.
Katie, I'm going to ask you for one more hard opinion here.
Okay, oh my gosh, I've got it.
That is on, I think you might have one on this, on 80s teen movies.
Yes, I've definitely got an opinion on these. I feel like I'm glad that they happened, but they're not they're not something by which we should hold as a standard now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm glad that they happened. It's great. We can use it now as a form of nostalgia and learning from the past, but we don't need to live up to those same standards. We're a lot more progressed.
I like that. Although, Stranger Things, definitely, that's more the exception than the rule, because Stranger Things lent heavily into that kind of 80s thing, and it worked well.
They lent into it, but it's still upholding values of today, right? Demagogues.
So true.
Like,
That
it's
is
okay to be scared of a demagogue.
considered, accurate, rounded, hard opinion.
Yeah.
Well, there we go, listener. Now you know some of Katie's hard opinions.
Oh, I'm so sorry if anyone felt like that was quite an intense set of opinions that I've just divulged there.
I know. I feel like I need to be surrounded by nature now and just sit and have a moment of zen after we record this
Yeah.
to recenter myself after this tension.
Sorry about that.
Katie, thank you so much for joining me on the Jericho Comedy Podcast. I've had such a great time. If our lovely listeners want to keep up with you and your wonderful work and your brilliant kind of live stream shows on Twitch and Facebook, how can we keep up with all things Katie Pritchard?
Great question, because now I'm working online, I've got so many links. It's it's really tricky. So Connor, I might send you my link tree. But most of my stuff is all on my website, which is katiepritchard.co.uk, and then it's got links to everything else from there. That's probably the easiest place. But yeah, I've got all my live streams, my art, and I'm a designer as well.
Oh
now.
my God, is there anything you can't do, Katie?
Can't really do art or design, but I've had a lockdown and I thought I'd give it a go.
That's inspiring in its own way.
So yeah,
Katie,
that's all on my website.
we will add all the link tree link and your website link into the episode description, and we'll tweet about it when the episode goes out. It's been so fun chatting to you. Thank you so much for giving the time to chat to us. And really, really hope that we see you at Jericho Comedy at some point over the autumn. It would be so lovely to see you.
I'm always up for Jericho.
Yeah! Oh, that should be the tagline for the podcast. Always up for Jericho. Thanks so much, Katie. Speak soon.
Bye.
Bye. That was the wonderful Katie Pritchard. Make sure you check out her website to see all the multitude of creative projects she undertakes. I really love chatting to brilliantly multi-talented creative people like Katie, so I'm so glad that we had the chance to speak. You can find links in the episode description to Katie's website, her Twitter account, and her link tree, which is something I learned about for the first time when Katie mentioned having one. As I said earlier, we're looking forward to our upcoming show at the North Wall in Oxford. At the time of recording on Friday, there were still a few tickets left, but only a few, so make sure you follow Jericho Comedy on social media and subscribe to our mailing list for all of our news and for access to exclusive offers and freebies from us, because we're just lovely like that. We'd be so grateful as well if you would use the link in the episode description to visit our fundraising page for Oxfordshire Mind. We've raised over £70,000 in the last few years to support their vital work, and we'd be so grateful if our lovely audiences would continue to help us support that wonderful, wonderful charity. Check back next week when I'll be chatting to another fantastic Jericho Comedy performer. Until then, though, thank you so much for listening, and bye-bye.